Flack math! Give me some math and I'll give you some flack. Flack math!
Okay, so here's what we're doing this week. We're just doing 31, 32, and 34. So today, after I get a new marker, we're going to do lesson 31, and we're going to complete our steps to solving equations. So right here, these are the steps to solving equations. That we'll rewrite on here so our online learners can see it. But we've gone over all of this stuff except one little part in step 1, which is removing parentheses. So that's part of simplifying both sides separately. Okay? So our objective is to solve equations with parentheses. Okay? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's just start with an example. 2 parentheses 3 minus b equals b minus 5. Okay? So your goal is the same goal it's always been, is to get your variable by itself, correct? But this variable, first of all, there's 2 different variables, and we talked about that a couple weeks ago. What do we do when there's 2 different variables? But we also see that one of the variables is kind of hidden in this cage, trapped in this cage, okay? So how do you get rid of that cage? How do you get that b out of there? Nathan?
Get rid of the 2.
Yep, distribute the 2. So we're going to do that. Draw your rainbows. Nice little checklist. So what do we end up with on our second line? 6 minus 2b, correct? Do we have to do anything on the right side? Okay, eventually. But remember, our first step, don't stress about solving the equation yet. Your first step is to simplify your workspace. Okay, the left side and the right side, make sure it's as simple as possible. These are the enemies of simplifying. Parentheses, we get rid of those, and then combining like terms. So make sure that there's no like terms on the left side with each other and no like terms on the right side. There's no other constants and there's no other variables on the left side. There's no other constants on the right side or no other variables on the right side. Okay? So are we done with step 1? Yeah. Good job. They shook their heads, so they said yes. Okay. All right. So next step, we can just move on down our 4 steps to solving equations. Let's do the blue step. This is conditional. If variables on both sides eliminate smaller term. Do you have variables on both sides? Yep. Which one's the smaller one? All right, so I heard a negative 2b and I heard a b. Which one's smaller? Remember, this is a 2b if you're subtracting it, but on the left side, how many b's do you have? You have negative 2b. So which one's the smaller one? The left side's a negative 2b. All right, this is what I have to do. Like when I smile, that's how I smile. I have to like do this with my eyes. Okay, so when I'm smiling. And then if I do angry eyes at Elkin, does that look angry? If I cross my eyes a little bit. All right, I'm gonna get angry. So how do you get rid of negative 2b? You what? How do you get rid of negative 2b?
You
Add 2b, because the 2b is being subtracted, so to get rid of it, you add it. Now, if we would have gotten rid of the b over here, would that have messed us up? Would that have ruined everything, Nathan?
have a joke.
You have a joke. Okay, let's stop. let's stop what we're doing and hear the joke. I think we need it. We're a little.
Did you hear that Shakespeare lived in a parking garage?
Shakespeare lived in a parking garage?
Is that legal?
I don't know was he on level 2B or not 2B?
That's good. I like it. I like it. Is it? Yeah. Good work. All right. Now that we're, I don't know what we are, because that was kind of satisfying, but yeah. All right. So what are we left with on the left side? What? On the left side?
Oh, left side. No, I said correct.
You're just way too ahead of me, aren't you? So 6, and then we're left with 3b, and then what? -5. Okay, so now we're back to these comfortable equations where we just have to get b by itself. So once you get to step 2, this is when you start having to apply your golden rule, and we'll write the steps up there too. But your golden rule is whatever you do to one side, do to the other. If you do something to the left side, do it to the right side. If you do something to the right side, do it to the left side. Okay? So far so good? All right, what's next? Try to tell me without looking up here. Everyone looked up here when I said don't look up here.
Add 5.
Okay, add 5. So we're trying to get the b by itself now. Now that we only have one b to get by itself, now we're not confused. Okay, well, which variable do we get by itself? Now it's this one. So to get rid of the 5 looks like the easier target. So how do you get rid of 5? We add 5. Good job. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. 3b equals 11. Gross. What's next? Divide by 3, that's right. Because 3 is multiplying by b, so to get rid of them, we do the opposite of what he's trying to do. And 11/3, so you can keep it 11/3. We like improper fractions in algebra, so keep it that way. Just make sure it's reduced, that nothing can be taken out of 11 or 3, and you're done. All right, so let's summarize the steps, and then we'll try another example or two. Sound good? So, first thing that we did, I'm just going to rewrite them up here, but I think it helps even for you guys, even though you see these. I'm going to rewrite them, and as I write them, your brain kind of walks through it again. Steps to solve equations. First step, always the first step, simplify. So just make sure your workspace is clean and orderly. Everything is as simple as you can have it on the left side and the right side. So simplify both sides separately. So these are good steps to have handy. Here you guys have these steps, but if you're at home, make sure you write these down even on your book cover. If you have a nice paper book cover, you can put these on the front of your book because you're going to look at these more than anything else. So simplify both sides separately. So there's 2 parts to simplify. There's only 2. You only have to worry about 2 things. And it's a nice little checklist. First is remove parentheses. Parentheses are the enemy of simplifying. Okay, and the way we do that is we distribute something. And sometimes what you're distributing is a negative sign. And we'll do some of those problems together probably today. All right, the second part of simplifying both sides is make sure there are no like terms that can be combined. So combine like terms. And it's important to remember we're not combining like terms on opposite sides of the equation. Okay, that comes later. You're just simplifying each side separately first. All right, step 2. If you have variables on both sides, then that's confusing. Then the whole get the variable by itself thing is very schizophrenic. You don't know which one to get by itself, right? So if you have both 2 variables, then get rid of one. If variables on both sides, eliminate smaller one. Now, if we would have gotten rid of this b over here, we just would have had a negative 3b over here, and then a negative 11 over here. Well, what's negative 11 divided by negative 3? The negatives cancel, and you still get 11/3. But see how this was a little less complicated because we didn't have to deal with the negative rules, okay? So this is just a suggestion. So eliminate smaller variable term. So I'm going to put it in parentheses because it's not essential, but it just makes things less complicated. And that's your goal, really. Keep it as simple as possible, because just those little things, one little negative sign can mess you up. All right, so how do you get rid of terms? Well, terms are either added or subtracted. So to get rid of them, you either subtract or add. So I'm going to just put add or subtract. So terms aren't multiplied or divided, they're just added or subtracted. So to get rid of them, do the opposite. All right, step 3. Typically, when you do that, you'll be left with this kind of situation where you have just a constant on one side. Sometimes it's on the right, sometimes it's on the left, and then you have a variable term and a constant on the other side. So now you start thinking, all right, let's get the variable by itself, get rid of the guards that are guarding it. This one looks like the easier target. To get rid of -5, you add 5. So eliminate constant on variable side. Constant term, I'm going to put that in there because terms are added or subtracted, right? On the variable side. So add or subtract. Okay? All right, then once we get rid of that guard, this guard is a little bit closer, but his kryptonite is division because his superpower is multiplication. So eliminate variable's coefficient. It's a big word. But just a reminder, coefficient is what the variable is being multiplied by. What variable is being multiplied by. Okay, to get rid of something that's being multiplied, you divide. Okay, so let's do an example. Following these steps, we'll do one, and then I'll have you guys do that by yourself, and then you can compare with someone close to you. You don't have to scoot closer, just whisper across. And tell each other what you get. And then if you don't agree, fight over it. Defend your answer. You worked really hard on it. So be defensive. All right, here's another example. 3, parenthesis, 1 plus 2x plus 7 equals -4. Parenthesis, x plus 2. All right, so take a couple minutes. Get as far as you can. If you can't go all the way, get as far as you can. Go slow though, take your time. Then if you get stuck, that's where someone next to you can help you out. No music today. What's going on? I'm gonna have to add background music to my video now.
Maybe there's no one in the class. Kind of a small class.
Yeah.
There's no one there. Or they could have shut the door.
No. Illegal. All right, how we looking? Another minute, another 30 seconds, another minute-ish. All right, keep working. I'm gonna work through that first step, but as you're finishing, make sure you are comparing your answer with someone next to you, okay? I'll go really slow so you guys can compare. Get similar stuff. Did you compare? You're not done yet.
That's right. Can I compare with you?
It's not. It's another ugly answer. I mean,
Mine's nice
I
and
don't
neat.
normally judge, but fractions aren't pretty. Okay, did you guys get this in the first step? Does it look like that? Okay, a very common mistake. Did anyone get this first step wrong? Anyone want to share wrongness? Okay, a very common mistake is to distribute that 3 to the 1 and then just leave that 2x alone. That's not very nice. You're distributing. You have to be fair. Give that 3 to everybody in the group, okay? So, now, that was the first step. We got rid of parentheses. No more parentheses. We don't have to worry about those. What's the second part of simplifying both sides separately? Yeah, combine like terms. Any like terms on the left side? Yeah, the constants, 7 and 3. Well, that's 10, right? Any like terms on the right side? Good answer, no. Nothing. So we got an x term, a variable term, and a constant term. So we're good there, so let's just rewrite that. All right, raise your hand if you got that far. Is it like a...
I didn't add the constant.
Okay. And here's the deal, Nathan. Like, this just keeps it clean, but technically you could just start getting rid of stuff one at a time. But this just allows you to just get rid of one thing. Okay? So the next step is the blue step. If you have variables on both sides, get rid of the smaller one. You don't have to get rid of the smaller one. You just have to get rid of one of them. Okay? Which one did you guys get rid of? Negative 4x. How do you get rid of a negative 4x? Add 4x. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. If you're like Audrey and me, if you bump your right shoulder, just touch your left shoulder. You'll just sleep better at night. Okay? 10x plus 10 equals negative 8. I had to tell my kids that you do that too. Just so there's another person in the world who understands me. All right, green step. So now we're trying to get that x by itself. So what do we do next? You got to take out a couple guards. Which one are you going to take out first? They both kind of look the same, don't they? But they have different powers. Yeah, get rid of the 10 that's being added, so subtract it from both sides. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. What's negative 8 minus 10?
Negative 18.
Negative 18, good catch. If it helps, chicken scratch that. Minus 10 is just plus negative 10. So negative 8 plus negative 10 is negative 18, good. All right, next. What's the last guard? How do we get rid of that last guard? Divide, that's right. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. Write it out like that so it looks even, symmetrical. So then if you get up to change the channel on the TV or whatever, and you come back, you can see your progress and what you're doing. That just feels and looks good. All right, so is it negative 18 tenths? Because 10 doesn't go into 18, right? So are we done? No, there's just a little bit of cleanup. You can reduce it. 2 goes into both of those. So negative 9 fifths. Is that what you guys got? Nice. Well done. All right, so I do have a couple more examples, but let's skip down. You can look at examples 3. You can look at example 3 at home if you want another one like this, but I'm going to skip down to some more complex equations that have to do with not just distributing a number, but distributing a negative sign. So let's do that. Now before I start this example, this is a concept that statistically you're going to struggle with. Now, so far, you guys have gone against statistics and have risen above those statistics. And so I have no doubt that you guys will understand this and rise above the statistics. But there are people in my Algebra 2 class who are still struggling with this particular concept. Okay? So, put your guard on. Let's not screw it up. Here's example 4. It looks very similar to what we've been doing. So we still have to get rid of parentheses. We still have to combine like terms. But what's different about this? Why does this look different?
You have to subtract and add.
Yeah, so you're subtracting this, but you're subtracting a parenthesis. So that means you have to subtract everything inside of this parenthesis. So what most people do in their head is they think 12 minus 2x plus 5. Okay? And that's where most people mess this up. All right? Now, it doesn't look like there's anything to distribute, but there is. What are you distributing to the 2x and the 5?
Subtraction.
Yeah, subtraction, but in my world, I think it would be easier to chicken scratch a subtraction problem. So whenever you're dealing with parentheses or negatives or anything, it's always easier to chicken scratch. So where do I put the negative sign? Yeah, so really that negative sign is remember when you chicken scratch, you can turn any subtraction into addition as long as you change the sign of the next thing. So the next thing is a parenthesis. So see how now I'm going to distribute that negative to both things in the parenthesis. That's one way to do it. If in your mind you can keep track of, okay, I'm subtracting everything in this parenthesis, so this is a 12 plus negative 2x plus negative 5, that's fine. If you can keep that straight, that's great. Okay? Okay, now look over on this side. What are you distributing here?
The additions.
So a positive sign. Does a positive sign change anything?
Nope.
No, remember when you, especially multiplication, when you have like 17 negatives multiplied against 18 positives, the positives have no effect. So when you see something like this, you can just ignore the parentheses. That was a waste of ink or a waste of pencil to even write those parentheses. So if there's nothing to distribute, then you can ignore them, okay? So this is just -2 plus x plus 3. So the biggest mistake that people make is that 5 right there. So you're subtracting a 2x and you're also subtracting a 5. So you can do it however you want. Let me just rewrite it. But be careful. So if I were to rewrite this, you can, in your mind, you can think about distributing a negative sign, but what Nathan said, you're distributing the subtraction. So you're subtracting both of those. So 12 minus 2x minus 5. That's fine if you want to write it like that. Okay? Equals -2 plus x plus 3, because there's nothing to distribute there. So that's fine. All right, what's the next part of simplifying both sides of an equation?
Combine like terms.
Combine like terms. Okay, so what do I combine to over here? Okay, so what does that combine to?
7.
7. All right, good job. So 7, and then you still have that -2x. What about over here? What does that combine to? 1 plus x. All right, now what do you want to do? Okay, Nathan, which one's the smaller variable? Nice. So you would have said x 15 minutes ago. So because that is a negative, that's the smaller one. Negatives are always smaller than positives. So add 2x to both sides. 7 equals 1 plus 3x. Now what? Get rid of the 1. Get rid of the constant on the variable side. Good job. -1, -1. Finally, a pretty answer. How do we get rid of that 3? Divide. X equals 2. Good. All right. So if you're taking a test, would you pat yourself on the back and move on? What would you do first? Nathan? Yeah. Check the answer. See if it works. It's not too difficult, right? You could probably do it in your head. So put in 2 for x. What's 2 times 2? 4 plus 5? 9. So what's 12 minus 9? So that's a 3. Let's see if we get 3 on this side. Let's plug in 2 for x. What's 2 plus 3? 5. Added to a -2? 3. Check. It works. Okay? Yeah. Yes, you may. Okay, so there is one more example, but I'm going to have you guys just do that at home if you need more help. But this is basically getting rid of solving equations with parentheses. How do you feel about that? You guys feel like you can do it? Good. All right.
Black math, give me some math and I'll give you some flack. Black math.